Hi, in this video, I'm going to demonstrate the provisioning and creation of a new Anthos Bare Metal cluster running on HC3 Virtual Machines. We're going to do it all using infrastructure as code. To start, here's my Google portal where I can see all my existing Anthos clusters. The first one here is actually running on GKE in the cloud in US Central 1. I've also got a number of all existing Anthos clusters that are running on bare metal out on HC3 clusters in a variety of locations. We're going to automatically provision and register a new one. The cluster we're going to provision it on is this one here, and we're going to call it GKE demo, and the virtual machines worker nodes and master nodes are going to be labeled GKE demo. And you can see the IP address configuration. We're going to use that in our provisioning script when we deploy these. So let me switch over to Visual Studio Code. The main thing here controlling all this is this Anthos Next Shell script. First thing it does is source some template environment variables, and this is really where I would configure each provisioning job. This could be created automatically out of a database or whatnot, but to see what we're going to do here in this run, we're going to call the cluster GKE demo. These are the IP addresses we want to use for the two nodes in this case. Cluster VIP, ingress VIP, the VM index, in this case, just takes the 80, and that's what we want to call the VMs, and that also actually drives the addresses that we'll create on HC3. This is some of my Google information, the project, the region, and then this is the cluster, one of the IP addresses for one of the nodes that we can get to the REST API for this. I'm going to go ahead and kick this off, and then we'll kind of bounce back and forth to walk through some of these other artifacts. Let me first source this environment just so I have access to all the same things here. And then let's kick this script off. The very first thing it's going to do is import that template VM. In this case, it's coming from an SMB share. Could also come from a GitHub repo or a web server, anything that's centrally located. If we switch over to the cluster, we can see that it's importing. That's already completed. And then automatically now it's going to go into the PowerShell portion, and it's going to clone VMs based on that. So we can see, and that's a Q. We want a G. And we can see it's already created the first VM and is powering on, and is in the process of powering on the second. Now we'll walk back and look a little bit at that PowerShell script here. This is using the HC3 REST API. It takes a number of information from the environment variables itself. Here we do have other variables like how much memory, how many cores, what size disk. These could also be easily moved into that template environment file if we wanted to. But this is really the key piece that interfaces with the HC3 cluster, uses the REST API to import the VM, to clone, to pass that cloud init information. It gets the cloud init information from this cloud config YAML file. This is what sets up SSH properly, creates the right accounts, the right keys, so that this workstation, our Anthos bare metal workstation that we're running this all from, has passwordless, pseudoless root access when it gets into the Anthos provisioning part. So let's switch back and kind of see where we're at here. It is waiting for the IP addresses for these to show up, but let's go ahead and see. Let's log in. I'm guessing the cloud init configuration is already done. Yeah. So yeah, it's already at the end of the cloud init. The guest IP for this node is up. As soon as the other one is up, it's going to go ahead and resume the rest of the portion, but it needs both of the IP addresses to be up. Probably is, yep, I see, we just got it. So both these nodes are online, fully provisioned. The IP addresses are there. So now it is into the next portion of this, which takes a long time. So this is, I guess let's walk through. The first thing it does in our shell script is it removes any previous attempts from the same cluster variable name, creates a new directory. It takes a template YAML file. This is the bare metal control Kubernetes setup, and takes a template YAML and replaces out all those cluster variables. So if we look at the template YAML, things like IP addresses are gets from the environment, the project ID, cluster name, IP addresses, so forth, comes out of that template YAML, gets replaced, and then the bare metal control configuration takes that customized information and runs the bootstrap and the environment checklist and so on and so forth. So this step will run for a while. We're on the bare metal control create cluster piece, And I'm going to stop now and speed this up until we get to the next step. Okay, so we are at the end of the Google Anthos cluster creation. We applied these manifests here as well to give us some access to the cluster. So let's do a few things here. Let's run this gcloud command, and we can see our GKE demo cluster is listed there. Let's also, there's a couple different ways. Obviously, we're local, so we could get a kubeconfig directly, but I'm just copying and pasting a command over here. Let's try this. All right, and GKE demo. So this is actually the Google Cloud capability. It's going to set up a proxy connection for us, as well as set our kubeconfig. Let's do get nodes. So we're connected to that cluster. Let's do a get it all minus A. It's just going to spew a bunch of stuff, nothing particularly, but so we have the cluster created. We have all that access. Let me also, let's go over and just look at the Google console. We'll refresh here. And we should see GKE demo. It is set up, it is fully registered, and so now I can drill down here. I could deploy applications through here, but let's kind of drill around. We've got our 2 nodes, everything's ready. See our resources that are available. We created some storage, attached some storage, local storage. So we're all ready to deploy apps here, and obviously we can deploy apps using kubectl or whatnot as well. Thanks for watching.